Good morning. Welcome to Bountiful Harvest Farms. I'm Sam McLemore, and I'm here to give you a grower's perspective on growing in high tunnels. I started growing in high tunnels in 2014 with Will Reed at Native Sun Farms in Tupelo. He showed me the ropes on how to build them from a kit, and we wound up working together, tearing down multiple structures and rebuilding them on his farm. He now has over 7 tunnels, and I helped him construct at least 5 of them. Here at Bountiful Harvest Farms, we've got 4 different tunnels that we grow in. 2 of them are just high tunnels with just the roof put on and no roll-up sidewalls or end walls, and just to give us that protection from the rain and a little bit extra shade protection and trellis support. 2 others are completely enclosed and fully functional doors and sidewalls. We have our nursery in one and microgreens production, and we grow multiple crops each season to have year-round production in these tunnels. We built our first one here in 2016, and owner financed it through a company, and just now in 2020 we built this one right here behind us through an NRCS grant. And we completed it last October. This is our best built tunnel yet. It's an all metal frame construction. There's no wood side bars, side rails, or wood framing on it anywhere. And I really like having the all metal just because I've had dry rot happen on some wood rails in the past, which with heavy winds combined to losing the top off of one of our tunnels. So, there's different pros and cons to having these tunnels and working with them. Obviously, you can see we've got trellis structure in some of these tunnels. That's huge. Having the protection from the rain and wind is awesome. And like I said earlier, having that year-round growing protection from frost, and it really extends our seasons, gets stuff started earlier and takes us later. With crops all the way up till December, having tomatoes and peppers in some of our tunnels. We really like using these different ground cloths in the tunnels just so that you don't have to weed. It's made a huge difference in the amount of work that we have to put in to keeping the aisles clean. Right. So here's a basic rundown of the pros and cons of farming with high tunnels from what we see here on our farm. We love having the protected beds protecting from rain, wind, and we can add shade cloth over the top of these to help reduce the heat just a little bit. The trellis support, as I said, it really speeds up growth, where we can get 3 or more crops in a growing year in these tunnels, versus we usually can just get 2 crops in our field. Occasionally the shortest crops we'll be able to get 3 in the field, but we definitely get 3 each season in these tunnels. Being able to overwinter some of our more sensitive plants has been very helpful. We've got some figs that we've been able to keep growing, and strawberries that are doing great even in their 4th year. We've got nursery production in one of our tunnels, which that's been a major help on this young farm to have a protected growing area to grow some transplants. We don't grow 100% of our transplants, but we're able to get those weekly lettuce and herb plantings and different flowers that we're able to get started in seed trays. And then another big thing is our microgreens production, which we do in one of our more shaded tunnels. And we've been able to really step that up and increase our production growing in the tunnels. As a con, it does get really hot, and so that does add challenges to the microgreens. They need a lot more water and a lot more care and attention in the high tunnel than they would if you were growing them inside or in a temperature controlled tunnel where ours are just open. So on to the cons. The open and closing of the sidewalls and the end walls during the shoulder seasons when frost are coming. It's so easy for that tunnel to overheat if you leave it down and the sun comes out. Even on a winter day, we can have some extreme temperatures in there. One of the worries is having storm damage. As I mentioned, we've lost the top of one before, and I've gone to help out on reconstructing others that have lost, had different bends and breaks. You have to be careful in the way you set up around the tunnels for drainage. They do create a large watershed. Our tunnels are 30 feet by 96 feet, and so that's a huge area that is shedding water, and that water is coming off of the plastic really fast, and it's going to go somewhere. And so if you don't have your drainage set up properly, it'll flood your tunnel really quickly. And so there's definitely the cons there, that you have more water you're going to have to work with sending it somewhere, and to not create erosion problems. Another con, if you leave your plastic long like we have on one tunnel, it creates a ton of noise when the wind is flapping, and so that can be really annoying. And so cutting off the plastic is important. Keeping things tight is important. And then wasps love them, which is a bonus for the pest protection. But as you know, wasp can hurt, and if you've got wasps stinging you or your customers or your workers, that's not good at all. So just being mindful of where the wasps are, and they love to get in the corners next to the doors of those high tunnels. So just things to be aware of. That's our major pros and cons. So I had a friend ask me if I could cover my whole farm in tunnels, would I do it? Absolutely. The amount of production that we see from these tunnels is staggeringly impressive. We get a consistent, better crop out of the tunnels. It would be kind of a worry on those big storm nights that one storm could wipe out all of that work and all of that money that you put in building all the tunnels, but you can grow a lot with them. One of the things we look forward to in the future is automating the rolling up and rolling down of our sidewalls and the venting, so that we don't have to worry about leaving them closed and it getting too hot, overheating in there. And so that when we take that step, if you could do that with a whole field full of tunnels, you could really have some major production with very little work. So here we've got a little pup tent style trap that is from MSU Entomology. I believe this is their invasive insect group that has a grant to go and set traps around tomato crops around the state. And so they've got a couple of different types of trap. They've got just the simple sticky trap, and then over on the other side they've got what they call their jug traps that actually have a pheromone. And so the pheromone is designed to attract a certain type of beetle that is an invasive tomato pest. And so far they haven't found any, thank goodness. But we're glad to be working with the Mississippi State Entomology Department to see what kind of bugs we can find out here. So I'm interested to see. They've got some other studies that they are looking to work with us on in the future, and I love seeing what they come up with.